The part of this story that has to do with basic human decency aside for 1 second, to people inside the White House, the building behind you, do they understand how problematic the president's behavior is here, even in his own self-interest?
Well, Jake, there are certainly concerns about that. I mean, this is the conversation we are having in a week when the president is poised to potentially get a major legislative victory on tax reform, something he has been waiting for since he took office. And it's one of the things that has officials in this West Wing really sort of feeling a void. There is no sort of chief political strategist now in this White House. President Trump doesn't have a Karl Rove the way Bush did. He doesn't have a David Axelrod the way that President Obama did. And some are saying, look, the lack of this means that there's not someone to give the president good political advice day in, day out, or be thinking about sort of the next crucial move, the 2018 midterms, saying, look, we got to focus on tax reform because we need to make sure our guys are getting elected in these midterms and we can move forward with our agenda.
Well, he had somebody like that kind of once with Steve Bannon, I suppose. But I guess an even larger existential question is, even if there was a Karl Rove or David Axelrod for President Trump that was brought in to the White House, would the president listen to him?
And that is the trick with filling that job, Jake. We know that this is a president who firmly believes he has, during his presidential campaign, certainly since he won the presidency in a win that no one was really expecting, he believes he's his own best strategist. He believes his gut, his own instincts over basically anything else. Now, that's not to say he doesn't still bounce ideas off of people in the West Wing. We know, for instance, he still talks to Steve Bannon outside of the White House. We know he talks to Mark Short, to Kellyanne Conway, to Nick Ayers, all officials that are serving in this White House, as well as his chief of staff. But it was telling in talking to senior administration officials here for the story that we were working on, saying, look, we're not sure what we would do differently if there was someone here filling that role. The president is still his own best strategist.
MJ, how concerning is it that there isn't anyone that even has the job of thinking through some sort of broader strategy? I mean, obviously there's going to be one political victory, it looks like, with this tax bill, but that's still one in a whole year full of losses and just horrific moments like this, like these retweets.
Well, I think the question that you posed to Sarah is sort of the key question, right? Even if he did have people around him to give this kind of political advice and consistent political advice, I don't think there's anything that Trump has done over the last year to suggest that he would suddenly start listening to these people and start behaving in a different way. And I think, in fact, we have seen moments where he, will take the advice of a family member or someone close to him. And then, there comes a point where he feels frustrated because something is not going his way, and then that turns into resentment, and then he ends up lashing out. So this has sort of been this cycle that we have seen over and over again, where one, he probably doesn't have the people around him that he needs to get the kind of sage advice that any president would need, and then the question of, well, even if the people were around him, would he take the advice anyway? And then when he does do that, he sort of ends up getting angry when he feels like, look, I should have just gone with my own instincts in the first place and not listened to these people.
But he could lose potentially. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen, but he could potentially lose the House because there is nobody really taking a larger political view.
Certainly. I mean, he could lose the House, and in the end, he could claim that it's not because of him, it's because of congressional leaders, that if only they had done more things that he wanted, if only they had been more loyal to him within the party, that would have been okay. I mean, this is the continuing unhealed wound within the GOP, is that you have a lot of folks on Capitol Hill who think that things like what the president has done with this tweet are wrong, but are afraid to come out and say it because they know that a lot of Republican voters don't like seeing Republican leaders on the Hill criticizing the president. They just want to see things getting done. But what this all still leads to then is Trump not really having those good relations on the Hill, things not getting done, those voters getting frustrated. And if they don't turn out in the midterms, Trump will, I don't think credibly, but he will try to make the case, well, it's not my fault. It's not because I've been an ineffective president.
Everyone stick around. We have a lot more to still talk about, including the White House now saying that if the president is unhappy with anybody that's in his administration, that person's out. What that might mean for Secretary of State Rex Tillerson coming up next. Stay with us.